Uncle Thor here. I've been asked a few times about the warrior thing and beyond it in heathenism, because a lot of people, they just stress it to the point that you would think there's nothing else. And if we look at what we call the Viking Age, let's be blunt. There were very few full-time warriors. The local war chiefs, the jarls, would have, let's say, a retinue of hired warriors. But for most people, war was only an occasional thing. They actually referred to themselves in their civilian occupation, knowing they could be called up in time of war. And this has existed for a long time, this idea of civilians turning soldiers. In the Middle Ages, for instance, the French referred to the peasants as the jacks, or the jacquerie, which translate to jacks, because the armor they wore were canvas jacks. They were canvas jackets into which were sewn pieces of bone or pieces of metal. It was the only armor they could afford. Of course, in war, the peasants would be called up to fight. We had it in this country, in a frontier, where civilians would automatically be part of the local militia on the frontier. So but these people, again, identified more by their civilian occupation. I go up the post, and sitting there with my friends, and yeah, we had been warriors at one time. We had been soldiers or sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen. But for most of us, that was a long time ago. And since then, we've been involved in our civilian careers. Okay? Many of us, our fighting days are long over. We're either too old or too sick. You have to look at the reality of it. Granted, any one of us, any person, veteran or not, if someone attacked you or was attacking your home, you would fight them tenaciously. Okay? So there is that little bit of warrior, but we have to really look at what's the rest of life. They emphasize warrior to the part that it really becomes meaningless after a while. This me macho, be like a movie Viking thing doesn't work. What does work is to take a good perspective of our lives, see where we're going, and devote ourselves to the lives we are living right now. And it's pretty simple. We have our occupations, we have our family things. There's nothing really special about it. Now, you always get some character comes up and says, well, why don't you write about the way of the farmer and the way of the craftsman? This isn't a book of 5 rings, and I'm not Miyamoto Musashi. And that was possibly a mistranslation. The way of. Musashi was talking more about the essential skills of. The skills of the farmer. Not as if it was some spiritual path. If you're a writer or editor, you're not on a spiritual path. If you're a farmer, you don't see planting crops and such as some great religious quest. It's an occupation, it's work. And granted, everything does have a spiritual side to it. But this isn't some religious Zen exercise. We don't need way up. That's silly stuff. Mistranslations of Musashi, and of course, that Kung Fu craze that started in the 70s, the way of. No, we just live our lives. Any meaning that's in our lives, we have to put it there. And calling what we do the way of isn't going to put meaning there. It's just more ostentatious nonsense. We don't need that. We need to be plainly honest about what we do. Today, we have occupations and professions. We have people who, for instance, the medical profession, the law profession. We have people who are involved in agriculture as a profession. There are people in construction, people who work as draftsmen, planners, accountants, and all these are valid trades. Remember that since the Viking Age, society has changed greatly and has become much more specialized. So we don't just have boat builders and fishermen and farmers and warriors up on the hill. We also have accountants, teachers, writers, people, librarians, and so many other different trades today. And each, it may be a profession, maybe you consider it a way of life, but it's a living. It's how people earn their way through the world today. With the industrial farming today, there's not enough room for everybody to be a farmer. You got to consider that. And again, with even the military being a specialized thing, there's not room for everyone to be a warrior. Today, the military is specialized. The police are specialized. Services are specialized. Government specialized, and the civilian trades also. So it's time that we say, yes, there is a warrior component, but it's a part of a much larger thing. And what we really need to do is look at our place as a civilian occupation, as a member of a family, as a part of a modern society, and where we're going. We can judge that by where we've been, where we are, where we're going. And we're not all going to be running out trying to be the modern day version of a Viking. That doesn't work. We have to make ourselves successful in our society, in the world we are in today. So consider these things. It puts a new perspective on things, and maybe we'll have fewer people going around, I follow the way of, and more people just getting things done and enjoying their lives. This is Uncle Thor. Have a good one.